Hi, in this beginner tutorial, I will demonstrate the basic features that you need to know to get started using the PetroCup simulator. All user interactions and output data is handled by the Polyplan web application. I encourage you to use Google Chrome browser, and it is recommended that you have a stable internet connection. So, the primary goal of PetroCup is to carry out a range of field development activities on a synthetic asset with the aim of achieving the highest possible net present value by the end of the session. PetroCup allows you to experience a multi-year field development process in just a few days. The effects of the activities are calculated in Polyplan software on a dedicated portal. After you have booked the session, you will receive an email containing the link to the portal along with the login details. After logging in, you will be directed to the Input Room page. This is the main page that you will use to enter the data and call activities. Please note that only one user can be logged in on this page at a time. Let's see what the main page contains. The top panel with the software support information. Next, we have the navigation bar, a topographic map of the asset, and map controls. On the top panel, you can see the session format. It will be set to either WRM, MDP, or EXP. The team name, current shot number, the total number of shots for this session, an additional number of years of development, and free budget accounting for allocated activities. And next to that, all currently available budget. There are also buttons at the top panel. The Activities panel that you can use to call different types of activities. Server messages that are displayed to alert users of any errors made during the data entry. Support button that will allow you to have a live chat with the technical support team. And the Exit button to return to the login screen. And next to that, we have the basket where all scheduled activities are stored. Below is the DataRoom button, which takes you to the DataRoom page containing all the necessary asset information and shot results. If your session type is set to Practicum, then the panel will have a shot button, which disables any further data entry within that shot and begins the calculation procedures. If your session type is set to Tournament, a countdown timer will be displayed in the upper right corner. Once the timer is over, the shot ends and all the calculation procedures will begin automatically. In the tournament mode, the restart button is unavailable. Let's take a look at the map controls. You can toggle the layer visibility by using the Layers button. In the pop-up window, you can tick the layers that you would like to show. It is also possible to enable or disable all layers at once. The Upload Layer button allows you to upload your own maps in a PNG extension. The Reset button returns the map visibility settings to their original state. Next, there is a button to collapse and expand the map to full screen. You can also use the ruler to measure the distance between 2 points on the map. The green circles on the map are producers. The blue circles are injectors, and the red crosses show the wells that have been decommissioned. All active wells are displayed in black, and wells that are shut in are displayed in gray. Let's now proceed to the data room. Unlike the data entry page, there is no limit to the number of users that can access this page simultaneously. The PetroCup system is organized into a tree structure that includes the several items. The start page that contains the links to the pages that provide a detailed description of the system functionality, as well as the brief information about the current session, such as session type, team name, session date, the organization that the team represents, name and email address of the user, the main event linked to the session format, asset name, and the voucher number that was used to book this session. The next section contains rules and regulations of the current session. The embedded link will direct you to the official PetroCup website that contains the following resources: a brochure detailing rules and regulations of the tournament and practicum sessions, and a series of instructional videos showing how to navigate the user interface and perform economic calculations. You can view the session specifications, which provide session information and shows all the settings you can change for the current session. The next section is Field Review. It comprises information that has been acquired from geological exploration, pilot development, and full-scale development. All other sections are now empty and will be updated throughout the session. Let's move to the shot section. It contains all the current shot information and is divided into subsections: activity log, open hole surveillance, field surveillance, production history, and maps. This information will be updated for each shot after it has been completed. You can create your own subpages. To do this, click on the Create. The name of the parent page will be automatically detected. Now you can specify the name for the newly created subpage and click Create. Using the Upload widget, you can import image files in a JPEG and PNG extensions. You can also rename or delete pages. Some assets have additional well passport section, which contains all information about the wells in that asset. Each well contains open hole data, production logging atlas, well test atlas, and production history data. Next, you will find a Consolidated Activity Statistics or CAS table, which provides a detailed information of the entire asset, including economical indicators, information for each well, and more. It also includes statistics information of the open hole interpretation results. Next to it, you can find formation pressure maps, oil reserves maps, and structural maps. The complete information within the statistics section is only accessible during practicum session. However, in the tournament mode, certain metrics within the CAS table are hidden until the end of the session and will become available after the last shot has been completed. Moving on, you can find Activity by Activity Analysis, or AAA. This is a set of auto-generated metrics, such as maps and tables, which explain the effectiveness of each activity performed by the team during each shot. There is a video featuring AAA for the reference development scenario and catalog web pages showing the AAA for your team. The standings section shows the current position of your team, as well as the success of your activities, which is measured by discounted net present value. In addition to the participating teams, the standings include 3 field development scenarios that are used purely for reference. The first scenario is called Reference. It is built and thoroughly refined by NAFTA team and is considered the best development scenario for this asset. This scenario is what marks the 100% score limit. The second scenario is called Booster. In this scenario, all production targets were set to their maximum value, meaning it was boosted without any in-depth data analysis. The third scenario is called No Further Activity, meaning no actions were taken on this asset. Within the Digital Assistance section, you can access a range of additional tools. Polygon is a software that has a number of tools which can be used to analyze and interpret production and pressure rate data during field development. This tool was introduced to expand the functionality of well testing. Polyflood software is a streamlined simulator of balanced water flood that combines dynamic calculations and economics. This assistant is designed to help the user manage field development by using water flood technique and select the optimal scenario for redeveloping the undeveloped sections of this asset. Polyprime software is a powerful tool that generates a set of high-level production performance metrics, accounting for production history data, and includes production and pressure rates, water cut, well testing, and production logging data. These metrics are used to evaluate the potential for further asset development and optimize future production scenarios. Let's go back to the main window. Let's take a look at how to manage surface facilities on a well cluster. On this page, you will find a panel where you can add a well cluster. See a list of all wells in that cluster that have ongoing surface facility operations, and a list of well clusters with previously performed surface facilities along with available slots. To manage surface facilities at the new well cluster, click on Add, specify well cluster coordinates or select a location on the map, specify the number of slots, and choose which surface facility should be built. This can be automatic pad metering station, water injection cluster manifold, or both facilities. It should be noted that if the water injection cluster manifold is not installed, you will not be able to connect injectors to water supply system. The same applies to the producers, which cannot be connected to the gathering system if the automatic pad metering station is not installed. After you have entered your selection, hit the Apply button. Surface facilities will take 1 year to install. Throughout each synthetic year, you will have to perform the following set of actions: manage production gathering and water supply system, call surveillance, drill new wells, perform well interventions, and set production targets. Let's start with production gathering. This page contains the following structure: installing oil production plant, booster pump installation, and installation of automatic pad metering station. Depending on the session settings, you may or may not have an access to modify the pump size and pipeline diameter. The water supply system has the following structure: water supply, master pump, a splitter, and a water injection cluster manifold. Depending on the session settings, user may or may not have an opportunity to adjust the throughput of this equipment. Let's proceed to the well surveillance section. There are two types of surveillance activities available in the current version of PetroCup: well testing and cased hole logging, a number of well tests, rate test, and build-up or fall-off tests. To call a rate test, click on the Add and select the well number and set its rate. After you have set the data, you can change it or delete the row. To call all surveillance activities, click Apply. The button will automatically show the total cost of all activities. You will not be able to recall any activities after this point. It is best to think carefully about your choices in order to avoid excessive budget spending. To view the surveillance results, go to the DataRoom and refresh the field surveillance page of the current shot. The same procedure applies when calling pressure build-up and pressure fall-off tests. Select the well, input the shut-in time in days, and after clicking Apply, the results of the pressure build-up and fall-off tests will be displayed on the field surveillance page in the respective shot. The next type of surveillance that you can perform is called cased hole logging. To call this activity, select the well, set the top and bottom interval, select the type of surveillance from the list, and set the rate. The well mode is filled automatically based on the well type. Once you're done, click Apply. The results of the surveillance will appear in the form of charts and LAS files. You can find them in the data room by navigating to the field surveillance page. Let's move to drilling. Depending on the session settings, you may only be able to drill from the available well cluster, or you may be able to drill from any location. The functionality of cluster drilling depends on the session settings. It can be found in the session specification in the economics section. In case the item well cluster surface facilities is missing, you may drill wherever you like. To drill at the well cluster, select Change Well Cluster, then select well cluster that has a free slots from the drop-down list and select coordinates of the well. The initial set of coordinates labeled XM, YM, and ZM are used to position the wellhead. These coordinates can be automatically set based on the well cluster coordinates, or alternatively, you can manually set the location on the map if the drilling is taking place outside the well cluster. After setting the initial wellhead coordinates, you will need to set XM and YM coordinates for the heel and toe. They will be set automatically once you select a point on the map. The ZM coordinate represents the depth below the ground level and is set manually. When you finish setting the coordinates for the new well, its trajectory will be displayed on the map. This allows you to visualize the path the well will take when it will be drilled. When setting coordinates for horizontal and inclined wells, you can select the XM and YM coordinates by clicking on the map. The type of well is determined automatically by analyzing the angle between the coordinates of the heel and toe. This allows the system to differentiate between the horizontal and inclined wells to calculate the drilling costs. The three coordinates that are set during the well setup process divide the well into two segments. If the angle between these segments is less than 120 degrees, the well is considered horizontal. If the angle is more than 120 degrees, the well is considered inclined. To drill a perfectly vertical well, the coordinates for both the heel and toe, or XM and YM coordinate, must have the same horizontal position. The coordinate ZM is used to set the depth of the well. After entering the coordinate, you will need to select the casing diameter and what type of well will it be, producer or injector. The cost of drilling is calculated automatically depending on the length of the wellbore and will be also shown on the Apply button. Open hole drilling will include logging surveillance. All of the open hole data for a new well will be accessible in the DataRoom, specifically on the open hole data page. While the well has not yet been cased, you can call the wireline formation testing. Select the well and specify the depth where you would like to log formation pressure. Repeat the same process for another depth or another well and click Apply. After completing this step, update the open hole surveillance page to view the results of wireline formation testing for the newly drilled well. On the casing page, you can enter the data and simulate the process of placing the casting and liner. For vertical wells, the casing is run all the way down to bottom hole. The fields well, casing diameter, and casing depth are pre-filled by default. To start the simulation of running the vertical well casing, click Apply. When setting horizontal well design, it is required that you specify well and liner perforation. To be able to modify these fields, you must click on Edit button and select the liner type from the drop-down list, either multi-fractured completion or with a slotted liner. If you have selected a slotted liner, you will need to manually set the perforation intervals, click Add, and set the top and bottom of the perforation interval in the corresponding input fields. When choosing a liner for multi-fractured completion, it is necessary to specify the coordinates where the frac ports will be installed. To do this, click on Add and enter the required depth value. Don't forget to hit Apply. The settings of this particular session will only allow performing perforation for a vertical well. Let's select a well, enter the depth of the top and bottom of the perforation interval, and click Apply to execute this activity. The next operation is hydraulic fracturing, and it is only available for vertical wells. We can also set the depth where the hydraulic fracture will be placed. The fracture properties are defined in the Session Settings page. Now let's take a look at how to perform production logging. The data entry process for production logging is the same for new and old wells. Now let's see how to commission a well. If the well completion hasn't been chosen by this moment, then the casing size and depth will be set to default. To commission a well, click on the Commission button next to that well. To plug and abandon the well, click on the corresponding button. It is possible to commission or abandon all new wells at once. Let's move to workovers. Let's start with water shutoffs. Select a well from the list with a suspected channeling and set the top and bottom of the isolation interval. That will close all channels as well as perforation between these 2 points. Add the activity to the cart and click Apply. The next type of workover is stimulation. Let's perform stimulation on the vertical well along the entire length of borehole and click Apply. After we have stimulated the intervals, the value of the skin will be set to -1. The next workover is hydraulic fracturing, and the process here is identical to the one when drilling new wells. Select the well, enter the depth where you would like hydraulic fracture to occur, and click Apply. The next type of workover is switching the well. To change a well type from producer to injector or vice versa, select it from the drop-down list and click Apply. The next step is perforation. Here you can get the information about the existing perforation intervals and set the new intervals. To perforate a well, set the desired interval, click Save and Apply. And the last step is setting the production targets. This page contains tables that show the injection and production targets of each well. Each table has 3 columns: the well number, the previous target, and the next target that you'll need to set. Newly drilled wells are being added to the end of the table. You can set the targets by clicking on the Edit button. The current target must be entered manually and saved by another click. Once you are happy with all activities, you can click on the Shut button or wait for the timer to expire. This will initiate a shot and another year of development will be simulated, accounting for all activities you have taken so far. The calculation of one shot usually takes an average of 15 to 30 minutes. You can find the results of the shot in the DataRoom, specifically on the production history page. You will see the summary plot for the whole field and individual plots for each well. The mechanics of all subsequent shots is the same. In the statistics section, you can evaluate the effectiveness of each activity that you called during a particular shot. The cast table offers a summary of the session's activities and high-level assessment of their effects. To learn more about different PetroCup session formats and their features, or to book a session, visit our official website or contact support at petrocup.com.